Welcome to Programming with Professor Califf. Today I'd like to talk to you about Sentinel-controlled loops in Java. We're going to start with a broader concept, the idea of the loop and a half. So with a loop and a half, we have a repeating task of some kind, but some parts of the task need to be done one more time than the other parts. So one example of this in the real world would be something like fence posts. We need one more fence post than we need sections of fence between the fence posts. An example from our programming might be printing a sequence of numbers separated by commas. So I have the 1, comma, space, 2, comma, space, 3, comma, space, 4, comma, space, 5. I have 5 numbers to print, but only 4 commas. So as I design my loop, I have to take that into account. One solution to that problem could be this one. So I have my number, which I start at 1. I'm going to say while num is less than 5. I want to print the 5, but I don't want to do the other repetition. So in the loop, I'll print the number, print the comma and a space, and add 1 to the number. The last time we'll actually go into the loop body will be when num is 4, still less than 5. When num is actually 5, we'll fall out, and we'll finish up by printing that last number and printing the new line. So another version of the loop and a half problem is when we have Sentinel-controlled input. So the idea here is that we have the user entering values, and we don't know up front how many values the user will want to enter. So this could be a list of numbers where they're just going to put in some special value to say, hey, I'm done entering them. This could be when we're using a menu. So we're giving them a set of options to pick and an option that quits. So as long as we're continuing and they keep picking options besides quit, we're going to keep processing the menu item they just chose and letting them choose another one. But when they quit, we need to stop, and we're not going to do anything within our loop typically. So in this case, with the Sentinel-controlled loop, we never want to process that last stopping value inside our loop. So the basic algorithm for a Sentinel-controlled loop looks like this. We're going to ask for the value. We're going to get that value from the keyboard. While that value we just got is not equal to whatever value is going to stop us, we're going to process that value in whatever way that might be. So that could be adding the number. It could be checking to see if this is the smallest number we've seen so far. It could be responding to the menu item that the user selected, any of those possibilities. Once we're done processing the value we got from the user, we're going to ask for the next one and read the value from the keyboard. And then we'll go back up and check to see if the value was in fact the stopping value and continue on. When we actually get the stopping value, we're going to drop out of the loop and do whatever things we need to do when we're all finished. Often report the results of whatever it is we were doing with all these values. I want to pop over to Eclipse. So first, let's actually write real quickly that thing to print numbers with commas. So we need the number, and we'll start it at 1. We'll then have our while loop. I've set this one up so that it's printing numbers from 1 to 10. So I'm going to say while num is less than 10. Then we do want to print the number. We'll go ahead and print the comma and the space. Then we'll add 1 to the number. And then after we're all done, we're going to print that last number, and we're going to do that one with a print line. So we see that this works perfectly because we want to print one less comma and space than we print total numbers. So we need this last one to be special. Now let's go take a loop at the Sentinel-controlled situation. So I'm going to do this where I just want to add up a set of numbers. So I've set this up so that we have our scanner for us. And we're going to ask for our number. We're going to ask specifically for them to stop using -1. So print enter positive values -1 to stop. Then of course we need to read the value. So we'll get the kb.nextInt. Now if I'm summing a set of values, I need to also have a place to store that sum, which I will initialize to 0, just as we've done in the past. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say while num is not equal to our stopping value. So in this case, we said our stopping value was -1. Then we're going to add num to the sum. So sum is sum plus num. Then we're going to ask for the next value. So system.out.print, enter a positive value. Actually, I'm going to make this enter a positive value. Always make sure that you do specify how the user is supposed to get out of this. And then we'll read the next one. And then finally, we'll print out our sum. Ended up with an extra curly brace there. Okay, so let's see what this looks like when we actually run it. Let's make this look better first. I can always terminate my programs by clicking this red square, remember? Okay, let's try that again with a prettier look. So I'm going to add 10 and 20 and 5 and 2. So then I'm going to put in the -1. And the sum, as you can see, is the 10 plus the 20 plus the 5 plus the 2, and doesn't include the -1, which is what we were trying to avoid by using this pattern. So if we did this differently, where instead of doing things as we said we should, we do something where we just do the read inside here. Then what will happen, let's do 10, 20, 5, 2, and then -1. It stopped, but it included the -1 in the sum. Of course, we could add an extra if here, but that's not generally a good idea, because if we do that, then we're making the computer do extra work, and it's less obvious what's going on. So we're making our code a little bit harder to read, and we're making the computer do extra work. So that's never a good idea. Instead, what we want to do is go back and use the code we had to begin with. Because this is the pattern that is always going to work and always going to be as clearly written as anything for this kind of a problem. So get this in your head. You're going to see it in a variety of places. It's a great pattern to have at your fingertips. Thanks for watching. Next time we'll be talking about for loops, which are designed to do all the counting we might ever want to do in Java.